So that's what I always say, the white people stuff. Yes, and anyway, let's start over, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bihi nasta'een, nahmadu wa nusalli wa nusallim ala Rasulil Karim, amma ba'd. For today, what I would like to do is I would just like to go again. Last week we went through some of the key aspects of Hajj and how the Hajj was done by the Prophet ﷺ. So for today, I would like to revisit that, but then just to amplify on some of the different aspects of Hajj, inshallah. So I would like to start from this particular. I see this is in some kind of a new format, so I'm not sure where I need to press to actually have it now. Where we only have the screen on there. I know this morning when I opened this thing, they had this funny configuration. But anyway, I'm sure everybody can see clearly the screen there, inshallah. So, as I mentioned, on the evening of the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, we're speaking of the night before the day. On that evening, for the purpose of Hajj, we don our ihram again. Now, on the previous occasion when we spoke about Umrah, we spoke about some of the sunnah actions that a person is encouraged to do before he goes into ihram. So in doing that, again, you will take ghusl, clip your nails, trim your hair, cut and clean the pubic areas and under the armpits. And then at that point in time, because you are not yet in the state of ihram, you are allowed to put on any oil that you want to. You are also allowed to put on any perfume. However, the clothing of the ihram itself, you don't put any clothing on there. Then you put on your clothing and you make your intention, and that you inni uhrimtu hajj lillahi ta'ala, and then you start with labbaik. So this will happen the night before or the morning. Now again, the 8th of Dhul Hijjah is the day when the Hujjaj all go to Mina. This is referred to as Yawmut Tarwiyah. Now what is important in this is that here, from this aspect onwards in Hajj, the logistical movement of people also becomes very important. Now you will find that different to Umrah in Hajj, you will find that logistically, in terms of your movement, when it comes to the movement between Medina and Makkah, and then Makkah to the Masjied, there it becomes controlled. Once you are in Medina, then you've got a bit of a free reign in Medina, although your Hajj visa doesn't really allow you to go and visit places outside of Medina other than Badr. And for that, normally the operator or the service provider would also arrange for a permit for you to be transported in the bus. And the same with Makkah. You're actually not allowed to go out of the precincts of Makkah because you are considered that you've come for the objective of Hajj and Umrah, so you are actually restricted to those areas. So you will be taken and put onto a bus once you arrive, for example, in Medina. Most instances, our people go directly to Medina, and then from Medina they make their way closer to Hajj to Makkah. Arriving in Medina, you will be put onto a bus that will take you to your hotel. If you are the only person going to that particular hotel, you will be the only person on that bus, because they don't mix up the people, from these people from one hotel. And previously they would have, if it was the same operator, they would have all of those Hujjaj in the same bus, and then that bus would go to this hotel and to that hotel and to that hotel, wherever the Hujjaj were. That system was changed because it led to a number of problems when it comes to luggage. Because now the people who get off at the first hotel, their luggage is right at the back. Now all the luggages needs to be taken out, and then the luggage needs to be put back, so it takes a lot of time. So now what they do is only people of the same hotel loaded onto a bus. If you're the only person going to that hotel, you will get a nice luxury bus all for yourself, and that bus will take you to the hotel. Now, importantly also is that we do know that the people are allowed 3 bags in terms of luggage. 2 check-ins, 1 carry-on. Try to ensure that when you go for Hajj, don't overpack. Be practical. You understand? Pack as light as possible. As I say, you take them, when you go, you take them light, and your bags must be heavy when you come back. Because you must be in mind that all of the movements there, in most instances, you will have to handle your bags. So if you go with a lot of heavy bags, you're going to have to carry it. It's not as though there's going to be porters at every point where somebody's going to be there to carry your bag. And if your bag is heavy, you're going to have to struggle with it. And nowadays, even from the side of your operator, they're not going to handle your bags. Because if anything happens to your bags or anything goes missing, then somebody will be responsible. So they have you handle your own bags. So therefore it's better have it light when you go. So when you come to Makkah, then you're not really going to be needing your bags too much. Or when you come to Azizia especially, your bags are going to park. So leave your shopping for that time. The things are in any case cheaper in Makkah and cheaper in Azizia than in Makkah, cheaper in Makkah than in Medina. You might find that the same thing that you are buying in Medina for 70 riyals, you'll be paying 60 or 50 riyals for it in Makkah, and you'll be paying 40 riyals for it in Azizia. You understand? So you need to plan those kind of things also. But in any event, you'll be put onto a bus. One of the other things that you must be in mind also is they've got luxury air-conditioned buses. Now, 2 things with these buses is that you're not allowed any luggage inside the bus. The drivers don't allow luggage inside the bus because they get a fine. Because you can be putting the luggage inside the bus, the Haji is there, there's a jerk in the vehicle, something happens, the luggage falls on the Haji is injured. And then what? Who's responsible? So therefore they don't allow luggages inside the bus anymore. They have got a luggage compartment at the bottom. But if you are 60 people on the bus, mathalan, 60 times 3 is how many bags? 180 bags. Now at most, and our people like the big bags, you know. If you take the big bags, at most that bus at the bottom can take 60 bags. 1 bag per person. What happens to your other 2 bags? So for those other 2 bags, they need to arrange for transport, and as I mentioned previously, you will in all likelihood have to pay for that transport. You put onto a bus, your passport will be taken from you, it will be processed, they'll be confirming, they'll be signed off. Thereafter, you won't see your passport again. Then your passport becomes packed. It will go to the Ministry of Hajj or alternatively to the Muassasa in Madinah Munawwara. And as long as you are in Medina, that passport will be there. Which is why I recommended that you must have color copies of all your documents. Your passport, your visa, your vaccine certificates, and something else also important to keep in mind is that if you are traveling with any medication, you must carry a script with you and also have an extra copy of that script. And if you suffer from any chronic or any specific kind of illness or condition, get a letter from your doctor stipulating what is your medical condition. So if anything happens to you, those are the kind of things you carry on you. So most people, they've got that little pouch bags with them, and you carry that in there. So if anything does happen to you, your important documents, the originals thereof, it is at the hotel. But if something happens to you, they can refer to those documents. They'll know exactly who you are. And in addition to that, that letter will be able to serve as a guide for any person administering any medical treatment to you to know what is your condition. So that is just as a tip with regards to the packing. You understand? So then you'll be put onto your bus, you'll be taken to your hotel, you'll be offloaded there, then you'll be checked in. As I say, your passports, that will go to the Ministry of Hajj. Thereafter, your operator or your service provider, whatever arrangements they've made for you, you understand, take you to the Haram, take you for visiting the Rawda, all of those things, that you will have an itinerary. So please make sure that you get a complete full itinerary of what your program is going to be like in Makkah as well as in Medina, so that you know how to plan your time, because time management on Hajj is extremely important. It's extremely important so that you don't lose out on any activity, and so that you know specifically what available occasions there are for you to take a rest. Rest in Hajj at the appropriate times is very important. It is extremely important, because if you don't get proper rest, you don't want to be so tired that when you come to the Umrah and you come to the Hajj, you are exhausted. And one person, he was so busy doing Umrah upon Umrah, and the evening before so excited, when on Yawm Tarwiyah, the night he can't sleep. Come Arafah, he gets to Arafah, he sleeps. They wake him up when they're leaving Arafah and ask if it's wukuf. They tell him, no brother, it's almost Maghrib, we're going to be leaving now. The entire Arafah, he was on Arafah, he was sleeping. But what benefit did he get from being on Arafah? So again, we need to know what we are going for, remain focused on that, preserve our energy, so that for the days of Hajj, especially the 9th and the 10th, Wallahi al-Azim, it is extremely taxing. It is intense. Because Arafah is an intense day, and now people are going in summer times, there's going to be a lot of heat. Alhamdulillah, on the previous occasions when it was so hot, I think on 3 occasions when we were there on the day of Arafah, it rained. On the day of Arafah, at the waqt of Wukuf, basically from the time of Wukuf until just before Maghrib, it rained. In the Nisa says that it was heavy rains. Actually, Arafah streets were flooded. And then the rain subsided, and alhamdulillah, it was a nice cool. There was a little drizzle, but it was cool. And then alhamdulillah, people enjoyed themselves. In fact, people were standing out in the rain on Arafah, subhanallah. You understand? But you are still going in the summer months there, so you need to ensure that you've preserved your energy. And when you get there, how you can take maximum benefit of that day. And the 10th day also is extremely intense, because you're going the evening from Arafah to Muzdalifah. Muzdalifah is very awkward actually to sleep. You must try and take some rest, but it's very difficult. And then from Muzdalifah, you go down, you pelt the Jamarat, and then there's the Tawaf, there's the Sa'i, the movement alone. They've tried to provide buses from Muzdalifah into Mina for people to pelt, but it is extremely difficult because of the amount of people that's moving. And then from, again, Mina, after they pelted, they also tried to provide the buses. I can tell you, it's chaos by the buses. And there's only a few buses. So, but in the time that people are waiting for the rotation of the buses, it's so chaotic. People are fighting and pushing and shoving, and really, the better is if you are able to rather take a walk into Makkah. But then you must know that you're in for the Tawaf and the Sa'i, because there's no taxis. If you do get a taxi, you might pay up to 300-400 riyals per person for a taxi. And that taxi actually cannot take you right up until by the Haram, because the roads are blocked off. So you, in any case, between Mina and Makkah is between 5 to 6 kilometers. At least 3 kilometers in, the taxis cannot enter. So you are in any case going to walk between 2-3 kilometers. You're going to have to walk in order to get to the Haram, which means you are going to pay 300 riyals or more just to be transported 2 or 3 kilometers. Because he's going to get you to a bridge, and he knows the roads are blocked. So he's going to take you to where there's a roadblock, and he's going to go this way around, that way around, this way around. He's make it seem like it's a long trip into Makkah. He could have just taken one straight road, but now he takes this road, and that road tells you, no, that road is closed. He's going this way, that way, no. To make it seem as though he's now taken you for some long journey just to drop you at exactly the place you would have taken you if you'd just taken a straight road. The same place he could have dropped you in 5 minutes' time. He's going to drive around with you for 15-20 minutes, simply just to try and justify why he has to charge you 300 riyals per person. So if you're 4 people, it's 1,200 riyals. Now you calculate 300 riyals minimum. That's the bare minimum you're going to pay. 300 riyals times 5 is how much? 1,500 rand you're going to pay for a 15-minute trip that is in reality only going to take you 3 kilometers. So if you can manage to pay that kind of money and then still walk another 3 kilometers, no problem. But you in any case going to have to cover that distance. So instead of spending that money, on a taxi, you rather take a walk and you use that money to buy a kufiya for the Imam of the Masjied, inshallah. Alright? So on the 8th day, the night before, so what I wanted to come to is also with regard to the movement. So you'll be put onto a bus at the airport in Mina, taken to your hotel. Then when you go from Mina to Makkah, you'll be put exactly in the same way onto a bus. Your passport will be with you on the bus, but you won't keep it. That passport, they'll be preparing a list of names for people that goes onto that particular bus. And only that people will go onto that bus, and their passports will be handed to the bus driver, who will keep it with him along with that schedule of names of people. So the people of the Ministry of Hajj will come. They come into the bus, they'll take out the passports, they'll check the passports with the names. They'll call out your name. You have to show, okay, it's you. Next one, you. Okay, you. So they confirm that only the people who's on that bus, only their passports are there, and that only their names are on that list. Then it is signed off, then the driver will go. That driver will come to a checkpoint just before Makkah. On Makkah, the exact same process will take place. Again, an official will come onto the bus. They'll check the passports. How many people on this bus? So many people. How many passports? So many passports. The names of the list against the names of the passports, it matches. Then they'll call out the names and see, is this the person who is in this passport? It's become extremely controlled, extremely regulated. Then your passport is still not given to you. Then your passport is then again taken by an official to the Ministry of Hajj or the Muassasa office in Makkatul Mukarramah, and there it will stay until you leave. When you leave Makkah, again an official will come. The names of the list, because that name is provided on a list by your service provider or your operator. So then they will check on this bus, these people, their names, their passports. Then they check, okay, are you here, are you here, are you here, are you here? Yes, okay, the bus can move. At the airport, another official will get onto the bus. This is when you're going home. Again, it will be checked. How many people on this bus? Where's the names of the people? Are these their passports? They'll call out the names. Then that official, one by one, calls out the names and gives you your passport. When you land in Medina, an official will come, he'll take your passports. At the airport, going back home again, an official will come and he'll give you your passport, and they will confirm all the Hujjaj that is on that list is on the bus. All of them received their passports, and they've all been dropped at the airport, and Salamu Alaikum, everybody's going home. That is the controls from coming and going, moving from Medina to Makkah. Now from Makkah or Azizia into Mina, that same kind of process is not followed. There, they simply provide the buses. It's called a taraddud system. Taraddud means that there is a cycle of buses that run. So let's say, for example, there's 1,800. They give us 10 buses. So 10 buses at 60 people per bus. That's 600 people. So every bus must do 3 rounds. The problem you have that the Hujjaj are at different places. So they allocated time, and that time starts anywhere from after 12 o'clock the evening. Because technically, once Maghrib is there, you're into the next day. So the 8th, the evening that we will now call the night before, we must have first the day and then the night. There is first the night and then the day. So that evening of the 8th, you put on your ihram, etc. You will be told a time when the buses will come to your hotel to collect you in order to take you to the site in Mina. So they will come, you'll be told, at your hotel, they will be at 3 o'clock the morning. Now Fajr is 4 o'clock. Mathalan. So 3 o'clock the morning, you need to be ready. And please, don't pack heavy bags and, a tent and a mattress and a fridge and, no. All of those things are there. You just pack for yourself, if needs be, an extra set of your ihram and some snacks. you will be provided with 3 meals. You'll be provided with 3 meals on Mina. You will get your breakfast, you'll get your lunch, and you'll get your supper. So you don't need to spend money on meals there. You will get meals there. You understand? And from my experience, it's not bad stuff. Some people is net onnodig, uitsoekerig. You understand? Hulle wil nie toes die hê nie, en is te spicy, en is te die, en is te die, en was so baie rys hê nie. I mean, food is food. You understand? Food is food. And it's not as though we're getting skimpy food. No? I mean, you're getting a decent meal. And the other thing also is that you must also bear in mind, you also don't want to eat too much and then you become bloated because toilet facilities are limited. You understand? There normally you will have like one toilet for 60 people. So you need to gauge yourself with regards to the toilet facility. Toilet facility, alhamdulillah, there's been a big upgrade in toilet facilities, not like how it used to be before. Toilets are decent, it's clean, but people need to keep it clean. One of the sad things that we have as Muslims when it comes to communal areas, ons kan nie toilet skoon nou nie. Ek kan dit nie verstaan nie. We are a people of cleanliness. And the simple thing is just make sure that you leave the toilet clean for the person after you. Ek kan nie praat van die vrouwmens toilets nie, maar die mansmens toilets, ja, salam. Sometimes even hier by die masjid, die man, ek meen, kan die man nie gesien het, hy pie die bril nat of whatever nie. Die is mos hoekom ons geteach raak, even 'n man sit op die toilet as hy moet pie. So to avoid the splashing of the urine. You understand? So, sometimes dan dink jy jouself, hoe kan die ou, ek meen, hoe kan hy nie geëim het nie? Ja, salam. You understand? But then, but now you get the floor is also wet. Now you don't know it's water on the floor, is it urine on the floor? You don't know what it is. So please, when it comes to this, we have to share facilities with other people. Make sure that you keep the facility clean after you used it. And then the other thing also is that they've got that system where you've got the hose with the tap inside. And then there's the flat toilets where there's a shower also inside. So you use the toilet and as jy klaar is, kan jy sommer vinnig 'n shower ook vat daarso. Because the water cleans it all away, no problem. The water runs away. But then importantly, in those flat toilets, people have the tendency to take water bottles with them because hulle is miskien 'n bietjie awkward met die pypie te operate. And it's easy for them with a water bottle. If you do take a water bottle into the flat pan, please make sure you bring it out. Because people leave the water bottle, they put it behind the door. Now the next guy comes in, he opens the door, what happens? The water bottle falls down into the flat pan toilet. Now that guy figures, okay, ek het net 'n pee, so hy pee maar gou en dan daar gaan hy. Now the next guy that comes, that thing is causing a blockage. There was on one occasion where for an entire half a day on Mina, approximately 2,000 people couldn't use the toilets because it was blocked due to somebody throwing a bottle down the drain. Now see the inconvenience you put everybody in. We can understand you want to make istinja, etc. But decency mos. Jy het die botteltjie gebruik, bring it uit. If you want to give it to somebody else, as you come out and somebody, Boeta, here's a botteltjie for you. And leave the bottles, we had to put notices on the doors, please don't leave bottles inside the toilet, rather leave it outside for somebody else to use. And then in spite of that, where do you get the bottles? Where did you get the bottles? Inside the toilet. The sign is on the door as the people go in, but the bottles are still inside the toilet. And that is the unfortunate reality of the nature of our Muslims today. Ons wil nie vertel ook visie, sy vertel ek nie van my nie. And in the meantime, now the problem is, die ene wat hy vertel wil gewis het nie, nou kry hy die vuil toilet, en wil hy die grootste geraas maak. Then when he gets the dirty toilet, he wants to make the biggest noise, but he doesn't appreciate he was the cause of it. So then you will be taken by bus according to a schedule to Mina. From Mina again you will be taken to Arafah. From Arafah again you will be taken to Muzdalifah. From Muzdalifah they try to have bus services, but it is very problematic. So generally from Muzdalifah you have to walk. But I'll go through some of that now as we carry on, inshallah. I don't know, after you put on your ihram, you'll be given a time, you'll be loaded onto a bus, you'll be dropped at now before you go, generally when you come into Saudi, you'll be given a nusuk card. You'll be given a nusuk Hajj card, and that you need to carry with you. That you need to carry with you. When it comes to the days of Hajj, you'll be given a different card. You'll be given a different card. Because when it comes to the days of Hajj, the card you'll be given there will be in accordance with your allocation on Mina. Because whilst you are in Makkah and in Medina, it will be in accordance with your hotel allocations. Another tip also, if you're in a hotel in Medina, the first day that you are there, you ask from the front desk for a card of the details of the hotel. You carry that with you. If you end up anywhere, you miss your bus, or for some reason you go somewhere and you need to get a taxi to come back, you simply show them the card, the taxi driver will know exactly where to drop you. So now when you come to Mina, you fall under a particular group. You are allocated in a particular place on Mina. Those details will be on that card. So if anything happens when you get lost in Mina, they will be able to know where to take you on Mina. You can fall unconscious, you can become sick, anything can happen. May Allah protect you all and everybody who's going. But they need to be put safely in Mina to where they belong. So that card you generally get the night before you go to Mina. Your service provider will come to you and they'll give you that card, and please look after that card. If you lose it, because you see, when you come to Mina, there's a beautiful camp set up. There's a security with a scanner. I believe they've got scanning now. You will come to him, he'll scan your card. Males with the males and a female for the females. They'll scan your card. And if your details don't come up on that scanner, sorry, no entry to Mina. You don't have the card with you, just you were so in such a hurry or whatever, and packing this and looking for the Mari biscuits and the salty cracks, you forget the card in the hotel, you end up in Mina, your card is not with you, they won't allow you entry into the site on Mina. You'll have to wait there, your service provider will get upset with you because they told you, because now they need to make an arrangement to get back to the hotel where you stay. They get the key to enter your room, to go and get the card, and then come back. See all of the inconvenience that is caused. So therefore it is important for us to understand that these kind of protocols and things that we need to follow and make sure that we abide by it to make our Hajj easy. Now you're not allowed entry into Mina because you forgot the card. What are you going to tell the people here back in Cape Town? What are you going to tell the people on Arafah? Yeah, they didn't want to allow me in on Mina. This is just so from the Saudis and how they make life difficult for us. Actually, they don't want us to come for Hajj. But you don't mention anything about the card you forget in the room. And now what happens? A whole incident is now publicized. Why? Because I don't want to take responsibility for the fact that I was the cause of it. And therefore it's important that before we travel, we must check those kind of things. Always have a checklist. So in your ihram, the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, taken to Mina, you arrive at Mina. Once you're on Mina, if I can just take 3 of these chairs here. 1, 2, 3. I'll just put them here in front. Okay, a 4th one, perhaps. One, two, three, 4. Now, as you can see here, you see the 4 seats? That's the size of your mattress in Mina. That's what you will get in Mina. So you are here, and then there's another one next to you, and another one next to you, another one next to you. I believe now there's talk that our South Africans this year will be with the Europeans. They've got slightly bigger mattresses, slightly more comfortable. But this is what you should expect. And it's not a train smash. Because you're not going to stay there for very long. You're going to spend a few hours on Mina. For the most of it, you're not really going to be sleeping, although ideally, you should be taking rest. On Mina, on the 8th day, don't bother too much with walking around and seeing what's happening there. You're going to be in summer, you're going to be in a state of heat. And that heat, it drains you without you realizing it. So on that 8th day, ideally, you need a place to sit, to be comfortable, to have a snack to eat, engage in dhikrullah, engage in istighfar, engage in reading Quran. And if there's nothing else for you to do, take a nap. Nothing else for you to do, you don't have the drive now anymore to continue reading Quran or to making dhikr. You'll be a bit tired now. As soon as you feel a bit tired or drained, you take a nap. You just lie down. Don't bother too much with this one wanting to speak that and that one wanting to speak that. Don't get involved, because now there's a lot of people become qualified as muftis on Mina. So don't get involved in any of those discussions. Allah Ta'ala tells us, La rafatha wa la fusuq wa la jidala fil hajj. Try to avoid, you have to avoid intimacy with your wife, you have to avoid unbecoming conduct, you have to avoid arguments. So those are the kind of things, especially the arguments, that is for Mina actually. Mina and Arafah, the place of arguments. So to avoid that, the best thing is, take a nap, take rest. You understand? So that you can prepare. And importantly, watch what you eat. Watch what you eat. If you eat too much salty stuff, that pushes up the blood pressure. Now people tell you, no, Kiki, must preserve it because you're losing a lot of salts. So they tell you, and normally in the South African camp, they provide you with tang and they throw salt into it. But I can tell you this much, too much of that tang and too much salty stuff, it pushes up the blood pressure. And then you will feel, hey man, you're not feeling so lekker. In the meantime, your blood pressure is sky high. So the ideal things for you to eat is fruits. Eat oranges, eat some apple, eat some banana. Ideally stock up on eating fruits and try to avoid too much salty stuff, too much savories. That you can, after the 10th, when you come to the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th, then you can have all of that stuff. Because you'll also find that after the 10th, then the number of people in the camp in Mina gradually lessens. It gradually thins out. Because now you'll find, again, the muftis, all of the people knowing all of the reasons why it's not necessary for you to come to Mina, or they say, no, you only need to be there for a short while, so they spend most of the time in Azizia, and then they'll go from the morning, then just during the course of the night, before Fajr, they will come into Mina, and then they'll be there for an hour or two before Fajr, and they say, no, but they did make mabit on Mina. You understand? So people try to manipulate the system. So in any event, so on the 8th day of the Hijjah, you will be there in your ihram, engage in necessary ibadat. Then you'll be donning your ihram and going to Mina. Mina is called tent city. Alright? It is a valley, I mentioned it before, a few kilometers east of Makkah, and it plays a pivotal role in the annual Hajj. And the Muslims gather there for the Hajj period, making it one of the essential destinations of the sacred journey. That is an aerial view of Mina, tent city. So that is where you are basically going to be staying for the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. On the 9th, you're going to Arafah. On the 10th, you're just passing through Mina because the Jamarat is also on Mina. So you'll be passing through Mina to go and pelt the Jamarat, and then from there you will be going into Makkah, insha'Allah. So that will become your place of residence, and then you come back on the evening of the 10th, and then you'll be there for the 11th, the 12th as a minimum, and inshallah also the 13th. Then on the 9th you go to Mount Arafah, alright, and also referred to as Jabal Arafah. And it's also, there's a mountain they call Jabal Rahmah, and Al-Hajj Arafah. Hajj is about being on Arafah. So that is an aerial view of Jabal Rahmah. That's aerial Jabal Rahmah. Now, that alone is not Arafah. Arafah is a very big area. Because you can imagine, 1 million people can't fit on that space. You understand? So that is Jabal Rahmah. Now, going to Jabal Rahmah is not compulsory for Hajj. It is very nice, it is encouraged. But the problem with Jabal Rahmah is people spend the entire day on Jabal Rahmah and then they eventually either suffer from heat stroke or alternatively they suffer from exhaustion. So if you want to go to Jabal Rahmah, you wait closer to Asr time when it becomes a bit cooler. Don't go to Jabal Rahmah for Zawal time. Zawal time, you make your Dhuhr Salah, and you make your Asr Salah together, Jam and Qasr, but you remain in your tent. As it becomes cooler, and you'll see normally at that time there's a lot of collective programs, and there'll be ulama, they're making dua, and people making dhikr, and a lot of things. You join that. If you want to go Jabal Rahmah, you go from Asr time, when it starts becoming cooler. So the experience of standing on the plains of Arafah is a spiritually powerful one, as it represents the moment when Muslims come closest to Allah Ta'ala, asking for mercy, forgiveness and guidance. And that is also the time when Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala boasts to the Malaika about the Muslims. You said they will shed blood and they will do this and all that, and Allah Ta'ala makes an announcement that, see here what my slaves has done. Then when people move away from Arafah in the evening, another announcement is made. Then Allah Ta'ala asks the Malaika, O my Malaika, did you see what my slaves have done? And then it says, I make you a witness that I have forgiven all of them, and I also forgive the people that they ask forgiveness for. That's why we make dua. Allah maghfir lil hujjaj wa liman istaghfar lahumul hujjaj. Oh Allah, forgive the hujjaj and also forgive the people that the hujjaj have asked istighfar for, forgiveness for. And that announcement is made at the time when the hujjaj move from Arafah to Muzdalifah. That is made at the end of the day of Arafah. The day of Arafah technically, however, ends only the next morning, on the morning of the 10th. Right, so there's Jabal Rahmah. There's Jabal Rahmah. Again, subhanallah, Nabi Sallallahu himself did not stand on Jabal Rahmah. Nabi Sallallahu was at Jabal Rahmah, but not on Jabal Rahmah. So it is not a requirement for the acceptance of your Arafah, nor is it a requirement for the acceptance of your du'as for Arafah, that you must be on Jabal Rahmah. It is just that you have to be, number one, on the plains of Arafah, and number two, that you have to be, not have to be, if you want to go to Jabal Rahmah, as long as you in the vicinity of Jabal Rahmah, you're next to it, you're at the foot of it, that is sufficient. Because you might even find it becomes problematic, especially for ladies also to climb up there. But you sometimes find that the ladies are more keen to get up there than the men. So on the day of Arafah, this is the recommended dua for the day of Arafah. Nabi Sallam says that the best thing which I and the prophets before me have said on the day of Arafah, the best dua is this dua. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulk wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. You can also include wa huwa wa yuhyi wa yumit wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulk wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. So then you read, in addition to your labbaik, you read this dua abundantly, insha'Allah, on the day of Arafah. So the day of Arafah is the most significant day, and the pilgrims stand on the plains of Arafah, praying and seeking forgiveness from noon until sunset. Then Muzdalifah, on that evening, you move to Muzdalifah. So after sunset, the pilgrims move to Muzdalifah to spend the night under the stars and collect pebbles for stoning rituals. Now, going from Arafah to Muzdalifah, you are required in terms of the laws of Hajj to remain on Arafah until sunset. What you will find is that in terms of the Taraddud system with the bus services, for you to be taken from Arafah to Muzdalifah, they might request you to get onto the buses and load them before sunset. Now, South Africans, being as clever as they are, knowing that we have to be on Arafah until sunset, refuse. No, we're not getting onto any buses because we're not going off Arafah until sunset. Those buses load the people, but they do not leave Arafah. Arafah has got a border. There's a border between Arafah and Muzdalifah. So it is simply to accommodate for the turnaround so that they can come back quicker to pick up the other people. Because I can tell you on one occasion, normally we, being with Sawuk, we'd be the last people to leave the camp in Arafah. So it on one occasion took us from Arafah to Muzdalifah more than 5 hours. And from Arafah to Muzdalifah is like going from here, I think, to Athlone. From here to Athlone. It took us more than 5 hours from here to Athlone. Something which is supposed to be 15, 20 minutes trip. Took us more than 5 hours because of congestion of traffic. Now, to facilitate ease for the Hujjaj, so that we can have that movement as soon as possible and have the turnaround as quick as possible, that is why they prefer to load the buses before Maghrib, but the buses do not leave Arafah, they remain on the precinct, and then they stand, and only after the sun is set, they actually leave. So once you are on the bus, you are still on Arafah, and you can continue making your dua, because many people of the belief, as is also indicative in the Sunnah of the Prophet, that is actually the time when most of the du'as are accepted, and that is the time when Allah Ta'ala makes the announcement that I've forgiven the Hujjaj, and I've forgiven the people that the Hujjaj make istighfar for. So it is a very key moment. However, being on the bus is no different to being in your tent. You are still on Arafah. So therefore, if you are requested to load the buses before sunset, please try to be, accommodating. Please try to comply, because you will still remain on Arafah until the sun sets, and only after the sun sets, then those buses will leave Arafah and go to Muzdalifah. That is just to give you an idea of what Muzdalifah looks like. This is actually a nice picture, because Muzdalifah can look worse than this in terms of people congregation. Because Muzdalifah, Mina is a certain size. Arafah is a little bit smaller than Mina, and Muzdalifah is the smaller space. So that is actually the place where the people are most cramped up. In my recent visit to Saudi last year in December, we went to go visit, and I saw that they've actually, I'm not sure whether the area where the South African Hujjaj will be placed will be the same, but the areas that we saw, that for the most of it, Muzdalifah is no longer sand and stone. Muzdalifah has been cleared, and for the most part of it, it has actually been paved. Actually been paved. So you're not going to have that kind of uncomfortable rock, you can't actually sleep also, there's stones everywhere, because that is how it used to be. So, but this is just to give you an idea of the kind of environment it is, where people are scattered everywhere. But can you see what these people are doing there? What are they doing? They're sleeping. They're taking a rest, because Arafah is a taxing day. Who, if I may ask, from amongst you has the habit of reading Quran regularly? Some degree of regularity. Now you will find you can read about, say, half an hour. After reading Quran for half an hour, if you're not accustomed to it, you feel like a person who worked the entire day. You feel like a person who worked the entire day. It exhausts, it drains you. Spiritually, it drains you. In the same way, can you imagine what it is like to make dua whole day? Nabi Sallam made dua for 6 hours. Nabi Sallam had the spiritual strength for that. But for us, normally how long do we make dua? 10, 15 minutes? Klaar als oor. How long do we normally make salah? Now imagine for a whole day, you are engaging in dua, you are engaging in reading Quran, you are engaging in dhikrullah. Spiritually, you will be so taxed, and your physical body will become drained. Your battery will be drained. So therefore, when you come to Muzdalifah, recharge for the next day, because that next day is even more intense than the day of Arafah. Arafah is spiritually intense, but the 10th of Dhul Hijjah is physically very intense. So take rest, inshallah. And the next slide, you see these red carpets. Can you see this area is not so stony? So this is more or less what we will be getting. It will be cleared, and then there will be red carpets, and all you do, if there's a carpet, you roll out the red carpets, you sit down, you take a rest, you try and carry, normally on Arafah, they'll give you a little blanket, and they'll give you a pillow, and there'll be a little mattress. If you want to, that small foam mattresses, you know, there's those exercise mattresses that you can roll up. You can do yourself a favor, perhaps get one of those, because at least it's a bit comfortable. But like this, you see, I don't know if you can see there that in the middle. Let me see, can this thing go there? Can you see that? That is the kind of mattresses that you can get there. Is that small roll-up mattresses? That's a piece of foam. You just roll it up like that. But you can carry that with you, and you'll see that many people carry that with them, and then there'll be a small pillow, or you can have one of those blow-up pillows that you can carry with you, just so that you can take it, because you must bear in mind that you're going to spend the night there. This is now probably early evening, just as the sun sets, but you're going to be spending the night there. So you want to have the opportunity to take some rest there. You'll be collecting your pebbles there. That will be the size of the pebbles. Can you see in relation to the person's hand? Nee, halve bakstenen nie kan hulle. I know you might have some issues that you want to sort out with the shaitan, but that's not the kind of pebbles that you need there. You just need that small pebbles. Now, my understanding is that because they've cleared that area, they might have an area where there's the pebbles, and I also believe there's a possibility that they'll give you the pebbles that you require pre-packed. They might give you your pebbles to you pre-packed. So how exactly that is going to happen now with the setup that there is, because they don't really want the stones and stuff, you know, scattered all over. So they might give you your pebbles pre-packed. So then you will be going to on the morning of the 10th, you go down to Mina to go and pelt, and you first pelt the main shaitan, what's referred to as the Aqaba. So on the 10th, only pelt Jamatul Aqaba on the morning of the 10th, and on the remaining days you will pelt all three. So it's 7 stones per Jamarat. So if you take it that you're going to pelt all 3 days, so that will be 3, 6, 9, plus the one on the 10th of Aqaba, that's 10 times that you will be pelting, throwing 7 stones per pelt, so that's a total of 70 stones that you will require. You will require 70 stones. First 7 is on the day of Hajj, the morning of Hajj when you pelt Aqaba. Then on the 11th, it's 3 times 7 is 21. And then the next day, 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 7 is 21. That's 63 plus 7 gives you 70 stones that you will require. So that is an aerial view of the Jamarat. Now, as you can see, there's various bridges. There's the roof where people throw, and then there's I think 2 floors that people can also throw. So all of that is the different movements. Previously, in the olden days, if you see the picture, there was just one pillar there. Then they make bigger pillars, and those bigger pillars eventually became part of the plan to build this entire setup here. And as long as you throw your pebbles within a particular area, you are considered to have pelted the Jamarat. That is what it looks like when you go to the Jamarat. So you need to be mentally prepared for this. And this is why you need to preserve your energy. Energy conservation in Hajj is extremely important. Because if you're not going to take that rest, and you're going to feel tired, you're going to be weak, and in this crowd, please don't fall. If you fall, they're going to need your kafan. If you fall, they need your kafan. When was it? 2 years ago. When we were on Hajj, there was a small stampede, and you can literally just feel yourself walking on people. But there's nothing you can do because the people pushing behind, you just carry on walking. You don't look down, you just keep the people around you upright, and you just keep on walking. Because if you stop, you fall on top of them and others will come over you. And there were some people that lost their lives in that as well. It wasn't so major as previous stampedes. We had a lot of people that passed away in the stampede. This was a smaller one. And again, it is because of people not observing the recommendations. Because if you see the crowd moving in a certain direction, you can't be busy with this one still here and that one still there. If you slip and fall, nobody stops. The crowd keeps moving on. So you must be, and please husbands, you have to hook in your wife when it comes to this. You keep your wife with you. Not one, sort yourself out. No. Because then if you want to tell her sort yourself out, then you have to be prepared to bury her there as well. Unless you perhaps have that kind of plan. Allah knows best. But other than that, you want to bring your wife back home with you, you make sure you hook her in, and you make sure that you keep her with you. You make sure you keep her with you. So what we normally do, we encourage people, as we go up the bridge, try to be in close proximity. Walk together so that you can support one another and assist one another. You're not going to, hakke ander man se vrou ook in nie. Nee, net jou eie vrou kan hulle. Dus daar is hier 'n groot moeilikheid. Dink plas van die man nie jamaraat gooi weer vir die boeta nie. Of die titi gooi weer die man moet nie klippe. So los maar die ander mense af. You just hook in your own wife and then you walk like that. This is what it looks like at the actual pelting of the jamarat. This is what it looks like. So you have to be prepared to go in there. And this requires you must have mental composure. You understand? Now, if you can see the arrow? Here is sort of the middle area. Now you will find that most people go for that area. Most people pelt at this area here. The majority of the people is there. Whereas on the sides, you see it's almost like a little boat. It's almost like a boat. So in this middle area, most people go there. But whereas in terms of what I can see the movement, the people are going in that direction. So if you go around, and by this side here, you go around on that side, at the ends, normally it will be clearer. You understand? And the main thing is, you don't have to be right in front of the jamarat to throw. From wherever you are, as long as you can reach, you just have to throw against that piece of stone there. And you'll find that there's a bottom, all of the stones falls in there, and then they pick it up again afterwards and remove it from there. You understand? But now you must also beware. If you're too much in the front, somebody from behind can throw against you. Somebody from behind can throw against you. The reason I'm showing you these pictures so that those who are going for Hajj can understand why those precautions are there. Why we're telling them to ensure that they rest. Why we're telling them to ensure that they have comfortable shoes. Because all of those things will eventually play a role in how you are able to cope with these conditions. And please don't try to do your own thing. When we are encouraged, do like this, do like that. The people of experience are advising you, so please try to do that, inshallah. Can you see here? It's not so full here. This is the point I wanted to show you. When I showed you there at the end, that other arrow, can you see the crowds here? But can you see here at the ends it's not so full? Because most people, they want to be in front of the stone when they pelt. But here towards the end, it's not normally so full. So my recommendation normally is, if the jamarat is on your left or your right hand side, you can throw on both sides. You're moving in that direction, you move past the jamarat, and then you come in at the end and do your pelting. Then you again move past the jamarat at the end and do your pelting. But if you come in the front, then all the people who's coming, they're going to be pushing you. If you're in the middle, that's where everybody crowds and congests the area. But if you go around, then it is not so congested. So may Allah Ta'ala make it easy. Then some important points on pelting the jamarat. Number one, stay composed and mentally alert. Stay composed and mentally alert. You must watch the crowd. See what's happening in the crowd. You must read the crowd. And if you see that there's a pushing coming in from that side, then you need to know either like a person who drives a car. Sometimes the car comes in from that. Sometimes you need to slow down in order to avoid the accident, and sometimes you need to speed up in order to avoid the accident. So you need to be able to use that judgment. You'll be able to use that judgment. And then choose a spot that is not so congested, usually at the ends. Try to avoid the middle, which is what I try to show you now in those pictures. And then you must throw each stone individually. Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. 7 times. You cannot throw all 7 stones at once. You can't take all 7, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and throw all your 7 stones. That counts as 1 pelting. Then you need to still check another 6 stones to pelt the remaining 6. So each stone, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. You understand? So, munuki vloeg dat, some people, they've got a lot of issues. I mean, some guys who come and they run and they throw, and some people they swear. You know. I don't know if you know the story of the Moffie from Cape Town. When he came to the Jamarat. Huh? Is die jou? Is die jou? Wallahu a'lam. Alright though? So as you are moving through, there's lots of people, a big crowd. Right? So keep track of your group and try to regroup as soon as possible after pelting. Now after pelting, if it is on Aqaba, that will be on the first day at the end, because you go past the other 2, you're only through the last one, and then the pelting is done. But that whole place is full. That is why people try to move immediately after Fajr. Some people move after midnight, so as to try and get the Jamarat empty, because on that day, those crowds that I showed you here, that is on the 10th day. You have those kinds of crowds, 10th, 11th, and 12th. The 11th and 12th, not so much, because you can sort of space the time when you're going to throw. But the 10th, that is what you get. Alright, though? What's your guide? You will have a guide with you that carries a pole with a number on it. There will be a number on it. That number will be the number for your group. So you need to check that number when you leave Mina. This is now on the 11th. On the 10th day, there's no guide with you. On the 10th day, it's all by yourself. It's all by yourself. But on the 11th and 12th day, from Mina, your camp in Mina to the Jamarat, you'll have a guide. You'll be having a pole with a plaque on it, and there'll be a number on it. You watch that number. The reason for that is you have to come back after pelting the Jamarat to your site on Mina. So if you don't know the road, they'll come and find you next year on Mina, because you won't be able to find your way out of there. They'll have to wait until Mina is clear, and then they find you there, and where are you from? And then they'll be able to take you back. Otherwise, if you don't know, because it all looks the same, the tents look the same. So if you don't know, is oor die brug, maar hy's 20 brug. Is af in die pad, is by die clinic, but there's 20 clinics. So if you don't know, that is why my 5th advice is, when you get to your site on Mina, you use your phone, you go onto Google Maps, you say to save your location. You save your location on Mina. So if anything, after you've pelted the Jamarat, etc., and you get lost from the group, because that happens all the time. People get lost from the group, because as you are going, there's a lot of other people going. This is now on the 10th day, on the 11th day. You get separated from your group. You don't know how to get to your camp on Mina. You punch in your save locations, and you'll be able to navigate your way back to your site, inshallah. So then on the 10th of the Hijjah, you do your Tawaful Ifada, which is to go to the Kaaba, and you do your sa'i, and to do the Qurbani and the Khalqu Taqsir. Now, those are the things that you have to do. Those are the things you have to do. Tawaful Ifada and sa'i, that is part of your Hajj. The Qurbani, because you are doing Tamattu Hajj. And then Khalq, because that is how you come out of the Ihram. Now, when it comes to finishing pelting the Jamarat, you've actually got 2 options. You've got 2 options. The one option is that after pelting the Jamarat, you go to Makkah. You complete your Tawaful Ifada, you complete your sa'i, you cut your hair, and then the Qurbani is done. In this way, you are now out of your Ihram in totality. You're completely out of the Ihram. Then after this, you return to Azizia, because Azizia is between Makkah and Mina. Azizia is between Makkah and Mina. You return to Azizia, you take a nice shower, you freshen up, you take some rest, you put on your normal clothing, and then during the course of the night, you go back to Mina. You go back to Mina. You understand? So that's the one option. Then at this point in time, you are now out of ihram. And now everybody calls you Haji. Now you are technically a Haji. That is option number one. That is what most people prefer. Then there's option number two, which is after pelting the Jamarat. This is on the morning of Eid, on Aqaba. Alright? Eid morning, you've been on Muzdalifah, you come to Mina, you pelt Aqaba. You'll find that most people will be moving into Makkah. Now the remaining rituals of your Hajj is your Tawaful Ifada, your Sa'i, cutting of the hair, slaughtering of your animal. Those are the four things that remain. If you cut your hair and your animal is slaughtered, then you can also come out of the clothing of Ihram, what we refer to in Cape Town as the klein verlossing. Klein verlossing. So when you are finished pelting on Mina, you cut your hair, and during the course of that day, your slaughtering will be done. So then from Mina, you can actually go to Azizia. Because Azizia is just on the, there's a mountain in between, a small mountain with bridges over it, and tunnels through it. You go through the tunnel, you will come to Azizia, and you can go to your hotel. You can go to your hotel. Because now you are out what they call klein verlossing. You've shaved your hair. And during the course of that day, your animal will be slaughtered. You can go to Azizia, you can take a shower, you can freshen up, you can put on normal clothing, you can come out of the clothing of Ihram. And then the slaughtering of the animal is done, you can take some rest, and then you can go back to Mina. Which means you've done two of the four. So what is remaining is the Tawaful Ifada and the Sa'i. Now, as long as you've not done those two, you are not completely out of the state of Ihram. You can come out of the clothing of Ihram, but you're not completely out of the state of Ihram. Which means that one thing remains prohibited to you. And what is that? Cohabiting with the spouse. You cannot have, so it's not now you go to, if you've gone to the first option, you've done everything. You come back to Azizia, you've got the wife with you, and you've taken your shower and everything, you want to cohabit with the wife? No problem, because you're out of Ihram. Because you're out of Ihram. Option two, you go shave your hair, you cut, shave your hair, the animal is cut, you go back to Azizia, you've not yet done Tawaful Ifada and the Sa'i, you can do everything besides touch the wife. So now you can go back to Mina, because now this option provides you with the opportunity to take more rest, and you don't go into Makkah at the time when the Tawaf and the Sa'i is extremely full. So now what you can do on the next morning, the morning of the 11th, the only thing is you will now have to walk from Mina into Makkah. Then you can walk from Mina into Makkah. You can do it early in the morning after Fajr perhaps already. You go in and then you go and do your Tawaf and your Sa'i, and then you come back. Now you are completely out of your Ihram. Now you're completely out of your Ihram. On the other hand, the pelting of the Jamarat for that day, you then do after that, later that day, but it has to happen on that day. Alright? So this is the small release and permits everything besides relation with the spouse, which only becomes permissible after all the rites of Hajj have been completed. That is what it looks like when people move from Mina to Makkah, or when people move into Mina. So you can imagine the crowds. So how you need to be able to cope within those crowds, inshallah. This is people on their way to Makkah at the border of Mina. So here you can see, some people are in Ihram still and some people are out of Ihram. So the people who are in Ihram are the people who must still go and perform. They're going into Makkah to do the tawaf and the sa'i and then cut their hair. The people who are in the normal clothes on Mina, what they do, they cut their hair, they take a shower, they put on normal clothes. And then from there, they can then from there, they don't go into Makkah to go in, perform the tawaf, they wait, and then they go the following day to go and do their tawaf. This is what the Kaaba looks like. This is what the Kaaba looks like on those occasions when it is completely full, and that is what you will also get, inshallah, on the days of Hajj. And then afterwards you do the farewell tawaf. This is after everything is done. So that is for today, just a synopsis again of those particular areas. Now, I believe that most of our Hujjaj that will be leaving, I think they're leaving from around about the 4th, 7th. From here they're leaving 7th. But we received some people that will be leaving from the 4th already. So next week, Saturday, is the 2nd. I would like to have a class next week, Saturday, just to do a round of some of the important masail of Hajj, and in particular, the Ihram and the different violations that can occur in Hajj. When is your Hajj spoiled? And when is it that when is your Hajj batil and you basically lose your Hajj? When is your Hajj spoiled but you can pay a dam and what are the different kind of dams that a person can become liable for? So that a person tries to avoid those things. And a lot of it relates to the Ihram, but also the arkan of Hajj, the wajibat of Hajj, the sunan of Hajj. I'd just like to do a synopsis of that and some of the important masail relating to that, inshallah. So I don't know if there's any questions with regard to what we covered today. Another question, Ajay? Any questions? Van die Titi se kant af? Ek weet nie of wat is because the explanation is alrighty of is die mense is net skaam om te vra nie. You don't have to be shy to ask. Don't be shy to ask. Alhamdulillah. So when you are finished with Hajj and you're going to be returning, importantly is to ensure that you pack and prepare early, because normally when it comes to your departure from Makkah, the buses takes you to the airport at least 8 hours before your flight. 8 hours before your flight. And that is just in case there's any hiccups, because what has to happen, you have to go to a checkpoint again, leaving Makkah. So they come to the hotel, the luggage is packed, they do a check, everybody, the passports, etc. Then you have to go to a checkpoint where all of that is checked again. But you must bear in mind, you're not the only people leaving Makkah. So just like how you find all of those buses coming in from Medina, you'll find all of those buses going out of Makkah also. You understand? So then what happens, you come to the airport, then you, depending on what time you get there, because if you get there 3 hours before your flight, then they'll have you wait in a waiting area. There's a shop there, a small shop there, a tuck shop. There'll be toilet facilities there. Before you come up to the 2 hours only before your flight, you'll come up. And then what happens, your documentation will be checked there. Then you come up at the airport again. Before they give you your passport, it is checked. And then you're allowed into the airport. When you get into the airport, they don't want people to sit around there. So essentially, when you get to the airport, you go straight to the check-in counters. So therefore, it's important to ensure that your bags are properly packed. Check your weight allowances. As I mentioned also with regard to the Umrah, check your itinerary. What is your flight time? How long will you be in transit? If you are going for for a visit to Aqsa after your Hajj, please check your flight requirements, because sometimes the flight from Saudi to Palestine to Jordan, if it flies to Jordan, that's like a 2-hour flight. So that generally counts almost like a local flight. And depending which airlines they book with, especially if they book via Saudi Airlines only allows you 1 bag. You've got your hand luggage and 1 bag. What happens to your second bag? So you need to check all of those kind of things. Always check on your ticket with who's my flight there, what is my transit time, and from there what time is my flight. And make sure when you get there to your transit area, to your transit destination, you check on the notice boards what is the boarding gate, what is the boarding time, what time is the flight. Because sometimes your watch might still be on South African time. You see on there the flight is 2:15 and it's only 10 to 11 now. 10 to 11 here. But there it might be 10 to 1 and your flight is 1:45. And then what? You've got only an hour to get to where you need to be. So it's important that you must bear in mind these changes in time zones, where you are, what time it is, and check on your notice boards the time of your flight, your boarding gate, etc. And always, even if you've got a lot of time, let's say you get there 5 hours before your flight, always try to go to your boarding area immediately. You can rather sit there, have your bags there, and then from there, you can see what there's a shop available and something to eat available. You can scout around from there. But until you are not there, and you're moving with your bags, because time goes so quick, and then you find there's a call, final boarding call for this flight at that gate, and then you find that gate is actually there in Gatesville. You're sitting in Bonteheuwel. You must still get with your bags to Gatesville. And then what? If you miss your flight, no problem. No problem if you miss your flight. You just buy another ticket. Because the airlines is not going to take responsibility for you missing your flight. The only time the airlines takes responsibility for you missing your flight is if their flight was delayed in one airport and that caused you to miss your flight on the next airport. If for any other reason you miss your flight, they tell you, don't worry, Haji, don't worry. Just buy another ticket. So where you get the money for that ticket is not their problem. So please don't go and do sightseeing and dinges and then you miss your flight. You understand? And the same also if you go to do sightseeing to any of the sites, if they tell you check the bus number, you see buses all have numbers. So please take a picture. If you stop at the place, you're gonna do sightseeing here, you take a picture of your bus. The front there's a number on it. So you know that this is that bus number. And then you can do your sightseeing. So if they say we're meeting back at the bus at that time, then you try for the most part to stay with the group. But if you do get detached from the group because you're busy here and busy there and lots of attractions, and then you go there, you can find the bus, you can just check on the bus number, because now you come there, you say, here's an 100 buses. What the bus is my bus? No one's here. But if you have the bus number, it helps you to be able to find the bus. It helps you to be able to find the bus. So inshallah, next week I'll just like to round up on the Masail and then perhaps just cover a few important tips perhaps with regards also to the Hajj and the Umrah. And then we can decide next week if we're going to have any further class after that, or whether we will resume the class again after the Hajj period, inshallah. Because I think then you'll have about a month, about 4 weeks, when people will be away for Hajj, and nobody will be going for Umrah in that time, unless there are people that will be going for Umrah, soon after Hajj, and those people feel the need for us to carry on with the class. No problem. Then we can just recap again on the Umrah. But I think for now, for the most of it, we've covered the bulk of what is necessary in Hajj. There's some things that I would like to recommend, but those things, inshallah, we'll cover next week, inshallah. جزاكم الله سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك بحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك إليك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. So also I would like to request, if there's, especially for the people who's going for Hajj, if there's any questions that you have, please, if we can deal with it next week, and then we can have that discussion, inshallah.